All right, whole Bible readers, it is week 47, and this week we are going to read Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, and we'll get started in 1st Timothy. All right, the letters are coming fast and furious now because they've gotten shorter. So let's do a quick overview of what we'll be doing this week. Colossians, I gave you kind of a false start on that last week. Somehow I got an extra day involved in a couple of weeks of these intros. Well, this is written to a church in the Roman province of Asia. That's the neighborhood of Ephesus, Western Asia Minor, or modern Turkey. This church was getting a message from people who were promoting some unknown combination of Mosaic covenant keeping, like Sabbath and circumcision, along with asceticism, denying the needs of the body, along with attention to angels and mystical approaches to experiencing God, and philosophy or philosophical language. So some blend of these things, and they're being told, hey, you add this stuff to your belief in Jesus and you're going to be even more spiritual. You're going to have an even greater experience of God than you've had before. And well, Paul's answer to this is not to refute point by point what these folks were talking about, though we can figure out what they had by things that he mentions along the way. No, his point is to say, when you have Jesus, you have everything, because in him the fullness of deity dwells in bodily form. He is the image of God, of the invisible God. He makes God known to us, the firstborn of all creation, etc., etc. So you should pursue Christ and have your mind on Christ who rules, and everything else is going to fall in line. Okay, so then we go to 1 Thessalonians. Colossians is one of Paul's prison letters. 1 Thessalonians is one of Paul's earliest letters. I'd put it second after Galatians. Some would put it first. Now here, Paul is reminding this church in Thessalonica, which is in Macedonia, northern Greece, that he left them in a hurry, and this left some of them thinking, oh, is this guy, some kind of charlatan, 52 sermons in a fast car, get the money and run? Well, he'll remind them he didn't take any money from them. That when he was with them, not only did they experience the power of the gospel and the power of the Holy Spirit, not only did their faith become known to people everywhere, but they saw him supporting himself and working day and night out of his love for them. He's been separated from them since. Acts said he had to leave in a hurry because trouble was brewing in town, and he was a lightning rod for that trouble. He had to leave in a hurry. And he stayed away because he says, Satan prevented me. There were significant reasons caused by evildoers that kept him from coming back. But now Timothy has visited and reassured Paul that these people are still in the faith, and so he's writing to remind them of their relationship, and then to help them understand some things they're struggling with. Some Christians in Thessalonica have died, and they're concerned, well, will we ever see them again? And he reminds them, when Jesus returns, he doesn't just return for those who are alive, but he raises from the dead those who have died. In fact, he brings them with him. It's an interesting combination. They have been with him the whole time, but now they're raised from the dead, receiving new bodies to live in this new creation which Christ brings. So he says, we will all be with the Lord forever. Therefore, comfort one another with these words. And don't be worried about the return of Jesus, but anticipate it. He doesn't come as a thief for us. He comes as a thief for those who don't know him. Well, 2 Thessalonians is a follow-up, and in this letter we see that the persecution the church has received has become worse, and so they're comforted there to know that God will take care of any judgment that needs to happen there. Also, if they believe that God is finished and he's just going to let things go on forever, that the day of the Lord has already come, God has done everything he's going to do. No, Paul says, as long as evil seems to prevail in the world, well, that means Christ is not finished, because when Christ returns, he will reveal the devil for who he is, and he will slay the evil one and punish all of his wickedness just instantaneously. So there's a group of people in the Thessalonian church who have been taking advantage cynically of the generosity of other Christians who understand the love of Christ. And Paul says to them, you need to love too, and that means get to work if you can. If you don't work, you don't eat, meaning if you can work and don't, you don't eat. But then he turns around and says, but don't be weary of doing good. Don't let others' cynicism and abuse keep you from being generous. Don't hurt by helping, but keep helping. All right, 1 Timothy is one of what we call the pastoral letters because they're written to Timothy and Titus, two of Paul's associates in ministry. As we begin this letter, one thing I'll mention, look for the faithful sayings in these books. Things that Paul introduces by saying something like, this is a faithful saying, or this saying is faithful. Because those are probably short summaries of the gospel message that Paul and his associates were teaching in the early church. All right, some great reading this week as we're drawing nearer the end. Keep going, folks.